The time is 6 o'clock, and I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent.
Mrs. Watt, board members, community and staff members, good evening, welcome. I just want to start always highlighting great things happening in our district. So we want to recognize our students here who actually went to a competition called the State Angles Challenge in Austin, and they did extremely well. So we have Ms. Anderson to present the awards and talk about the event.
All right, so this year we got to a great opportunity to participate in a really cool event. Everybody probably saw on TV all spring and summer that this was the 50th anniversary of Apollo landing on the moon. So NASA kind of facilitated, along with some of their educational partners, and kind of provided some grant funding to those partners to develop a special competition. So this is just basic, I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically what they did was they designed a challenge that they would kind of disseminate out to the states for students to, I just don't like that thing. For students to simulate what actually happened when Apollo landed on the moon. So there was a lunar lander, and then obviously the astronauts got off, and then some different things happened. But what happened in the competition was basically they tried to simulate that with a lunar mat, and then students had to practice flying a drone, which was new to most of them, land a lunar lander that they had designed on that mat that looks like the moon, then use a robot, Lego robot, to maneuver around and then kind of simulate mining for minerals on the moon and then identifying the minerals. So it was super cool that it kind of mimicked the different things that would happen on the lunar landing. So just so you quickly know, we've kind of found out about it at the end of March, and teachers went to a training in San Antonio. Teams practiced just in May and June during their instructional enrichment. We had a scrimmage on the 8th here in the district, and then we actually got chosen to host the regional, well, RGV region, but it was called the local hub. So we had teams from all over the valley compete, 20 teams. And the top 2 teams from each kind of grade range, which was elementary, middle school, and then high school, were going to, as far as we knew, be invited to the state competition, which they call the regional hub, in Austin. So after our local competition, Stanky, Adame, and Donna High School tentatively advanced. But then we found out on July 1st, which was super cool, that they also invited Salazar Elementary to go to the state meet. So the state meet was on July 20th, the same day that Apollo landed on the moon 50 years ago. And then on August 4th was kind of like the winners got a special trip. So this is just basic for you. There are 5 kids on a team, 5 students on a team, and they each had special roles. One was the commander or the leader, one was in charge of communication, kind of like the Operation Control Center kind of person. Then there was the EVA officer that had to program the robot, or that Lego robot, using code, and then the drone pilot, obviously, and then the science officer was the one who got to identify the minerals or the rocks that were from the moon. There were a lot of things that kids had to do. So they had to design a mission patch, just like any mission that NASA does. They posted on social media because, of course, that's how we communicate and promote things now. They had to keep a portfolio of everything they did, and then obviously the actual event where they completed all those things on the lunar mat. So this is a picture from our local hub that we hosted at Todd, and you can see we got students from Vanguard, PSJA, Donna. Brownsville was going to compete, but then they ended up not coming to our event. So it was a pretty cool event. So then we had those 4 teams that got invited to the state event, And there were 18 teams invited from all over Texas, and 4 of those were from Donna. So that's a pretty awesome recognition that we got. And there were only 3 awards given at the state event, and all 3 were Donna teams, were awarded to Donna teams. So super awesome. The National Social Media Award winner was Salazar Elementary, the Native Space Rangers. And that's already been shared on our district and our Dawn ISD science webpage, Facebook page. So you can check out our Facebook if you want to see their award-winning social media. The state competition runner-up was Donna High School Redskin Robotics. And then the winners of the entire competition were Stanky Elementary Team Chaos. And we'll introduce the flight directors, which are the coaches and the students, in just a minute. I just want to show you some pictures from the event first. So this was Adame Elementary Dream Catchers at the event, on the way to the event, getting ready to compete. This is Redskin Robotics from Donna High School. At the event, they were the runner-up team. Then Native Space Rangers from Salazar won a trip to NASA Ames Research Facility in Mountain View, California. So they went to California last week, which was pretty great. And here's some pictures from their trip. You can see only 2 teams from the country got to go to California. The ones that won the mission patch, and then the team from Salazar that won the social media award. And then I think they were most excited about the air tram thing at the airport. I don't know. Because it's like a subway, right? We don't have subways here, so it's pretty exciting. All right, and then Team Chaos from Stanky got to go to Johnson Space Center in Houston. Here they are at the state competition. Oops. And then here's some pictures of them in Houston. And you could ask the kids afterwards, but this is pretty cool that they got to see the real booster things. I don't even know the name of all of them. And then they also were at the buoyancy laboratory, so they do a lot of the experimenting for space and water. So those are kind of the highlights. We're going to call each of the team flight directors up here and their students very quickly to be recognized. So what we'll do is we'll call the sponsors. Ms. Gomez will be calling the sponsors, and then the students, and you guys will go around and shake everybody's hand and then stand in the middle to take a picture. Okay? All right.
Really exciting. It was really exciting to see them win. I was lucky enough to be there, and then it was like Donna, this, and it was like Donna that. It was like back to back to back. I was like very joyous. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with the very first one from Adame. We have the flight director, which is the coach. I believe Mr. Garcia is here. Students from there, we have assistant.
Lauren's coming right now.
Okay. Additionally, he had an assistant. His name was Jose M. Cruz. He was the assistant flight director. And the students that competed was Lauren de la Garza, George Quintanilla, Corpus Aguirre, Miguel Morales, and Santiago Hernandez. Yeah, she's on her way. She'll be coming a little bit.
We're going to wait for the group picture until the last student comes, but you guys can come shake everybody's
Congratulations, sweetie. Congratulations, young man. Congratulations. Mr. Garcia, good job.
Fun, that's awesome. Great job. That's great job. Great job. Yes.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Congratulations. Great job.
Okay. The state winners, we have from Stanky Elementary, Team Chaos. Flight director there was Alyssa Barrios, and assistant flight director, Esmeralda Huerta. And the students competing in this event were Andrew Coronado, Renee De Hoyos, Clyde De Los Santos, Mia Avila, and Caleb Yanis. And just so you all will know, what was really prideful on that day is that these are elementary students competing against middle school and high school students. And so for them to have won the state competition, that means that they beat all other middle schools and high schools.
Congratulations.
Okay, and we have the state runner-up from Donna High. Okay.
Great job, guys. Great job.
So in second place, we have Donna High School Redskin Robotics. Flight director for them is Julio Navarro. And the students competing is Giselle Trujillo, Isael Hernandez, and Aaron Pineda.
That's so cool. Congratulations. Congratulations. Real cool. Real cool. Congratulations.
You guys can get a little closer, guys, together.
Okay, and then the National Social Media Award winners from Salazar Elementary, we have Flight Director Ana Loa and Assistant Flight Director Maria L. Ramirez. And the students competing in this event is Mario Vela, Ismael Zapata, Abril Ixpache, Esteban Casanova, and Landon Tijerina. And then alternates was Valeria Duran, Hector Rios, Luis Rodriguez, Jeremiah Trejo, and Ashanti Villalobos.
Congratulations. America. Science.
Because I saw you like posting them as well.
You want to get in the picture?
Okay, now may all teams please come up for a whole team Donna ISD photo.
And then we have one got on by themselves.
Oh, because Lauren.
I think everybody.
Everybody get up. It's on here, it's just me. It's hot, no?
It's hot.
Guys good over here? Back, back and to the right. Can give each other your pen. You're slightly taller than the person in front of you. Go back.
You back, yeah, that's good. It's fine. Then you touch.
Matt, you guys might want to take a knee
Yeah.
up front.
Shorties, you don't believe There's a great deal, so I know when directors' meetings or whatever I go to. Those colors actually look cool.
Great job, everybody.
Good job, guys. We need to take some notes. Yeah, they did take One more picture. This is ramen, right?
So you want to just kind of let him know that we already got
Okay, ramen.
For next year.
asked for next year.
And it's roads on Mars? Okay.
Hold on. We need the superintendent.
The Super Nintendo.
Mario? You need Mario?
What do you think will happen?
Super Nintendo?
That's what curiosity is picking.
My kids are Mario Odyssey.
Oh, Mario Assis. Mario Assis. There you go. They say cheese.
Congratulations, guys.
Very nice.
We're very proud of all our students. Our flight directors worked very hard and did an awesome job, and thank you also to parents and administrators that supported them. Hopefully that support continues because 2020 is Roads on Mars. So we have another great opportunity to have a similar competition.
Congratulations to all our students, teachers, sponsor obviously, and our parents for all their hard work. Next, we have, I think we have a program exchange between our Dana North High School and also a city in Munich, Germany, and we have Mr. Weiss who are going to talk a little bit about it and a great experience that our student had over the summer.
Thank you, sir. Let me just get set up real quick. All right. Okay. So I'm going to give you a small little report, a small little summary report about how the trip went this summer. I know, right? We can do it. And right now I have here Larissa, the president. We have Shershan, a member, and Elijah as well as a member. And they're going to be talking to you a little bit about what happened in the program, and I'll go into a little bit more detail. And just so you're aware that of the 12, one of them is a junior, but she's on a trip, and the rest of them are all graduates. So they've already graduated. They just came back to return. Either some were working, and some have already left to college already. So yeah, this is why there's only 3 out of the 12. So let's get started. Just as a recap, again, this GAP program is a short-term student exchange program between American and German high schools. And as our students, there was 12 of our students that were paired up with a German student. And the goals go
So the GAP goals and objectives: promote and improve the study and usage of the German and English languages as a second language. Broaden the students' and teachers' knowledge of the host country's culture and expand their understanding of another way of life. Develop ongoing interest in the partner country as well as enduring friendships through a joint project. Strengthen and sustain the relationship between Germany and the United States.
DIZ GAP guidelines in a nutshell. Minimum stay in Germany was at least 16 days. Group size 12 students, 6 boys and 6 girls. We attended school for at least 2 weeks. Exchange occurs every other year. GAP coordinator is responsible for organization of exchange.
The students' responsibilities were active participation in classes, school, and family life. And then there was an effort to learn German in and out of school before, during, and after the trip. And we must observe the families and the teachers' roles, along with integration of guests into family during visits. The cost for participants, the airfare, the gifts and spending money, and the day trips, which was optional, was how much?
It was around 250 around
It was around 250
the day trips.
for the day trips.
And the host families.
Oh, and the host families provided free room and board.
So that, in a nutshell, is pretty much like the guidelines for the program. But let me tell you about the students. So again, there were 11 seniors and 1 was a junior. And this is a photo of the group, and these are the photo of the officers that we have right there. So what we did while we were there, so we would go and visit English classes. We would go to 6th grade classes. They would be interviewed about American way of life. And they got to serve as tutors in the classes. And of course, they would ask them questions about their perspective. And yes, there was lots of questions on politics, which we tried to refrain from as best we could. And so they were naturally curious about us, and of course about our area. Of course, being bilingual, they were very interested in that. And since we were there during the July 4th, we had a special shirt made. In fact, Mr. Hernandez and I actually taught a lesson about the Declaration of Independence there in 2 of the classrooms to explain about this, about why it's so important. And the students also took different takes about that in their classes as well. So in addition to teaching about the American way of life, and it's actually part of the curriculum, so they would actually involve us in the lesson. The kids would be, if they weren't involved with that, we were treated to a traditional Bavarian breakfast. And yes, over there they do have that little drink right there, and they have some pretzels. Yes, and we went to a monastery visit there in the town of Fürstenfeldbruck, which was about 500 years old, about so. We were treated to a cooking lesson there at their cooking facility at their schools, and our kids got to learn to do a type of dip that we had later at the picnic, right? That was in Munich. And they of course treated us out to sightseeing trips around their city, and this was a photo that was done in Munich as they took us to Munich, which was about 30 minutes away by train. And for a lot of times for our kids, this is not only the first time on a plane, well, for some of them, it's also the first time all the way across the world, and then to be on a train, and then to be on a bus, and then to sometimes be on bicycles, and then some of them got hurt. But we got scraped and stuff like that, but it's nothing that antibiotics couldn't fix. And we also went to a trip to Neuschwanstein Castle, and that is the castle of which Cinderella's Sleeping Beauty, the castle from Disneyland, is what it's based off of. And the kids really did enjoy it. They did not, however, enjoy walking up 30 minutes, more like a hike. They did not enjoy that part. That was the only thing. Right, kids? Yes. Yeah, carrying their backpacks. And then, of course, part of the program is that we do incorporate, of course, history. And yes, we did visit the Dachau concentration camp memorial. Those were some of the photos I did not post online, only because it was not something that we were seeking to glorify as such. So a lot of people were like, "What happened to you week 2?" I'm like, well, that's more the history stuff. And yes, we went to visit a camp, and yes, they had a history lesson for us and took us around. And for a lot of kids, of course, they read about it in the textbooks and such about the Holocaust, but it's something different when you're there actually at a gas chamber, or or when you can look into and you're seeing. But of course, the big thing to take away from all this is that was the past, and of course that we're now in the future, and that we must be conscious of that type of behavior and what it can lead to in any country. From there, we paid for a small trip. We went to Berlin on a train, and the kids went on a bike for 3 hours around the entire city. We got to visit the Holocaust Memorial that's there, the Brandenburg Tor, and of course there's bears all around Berlin. And a lot of kids, they Larissa, right? You would say that was your favorite part, right? Or
Yeah.
kids? And we also got to visit the Reichstag platform. So basically the capital of Germany. One of our former exchange students arranged for our security checks and with our passports, and we were able to go, of course, at the allotted time, and we were to visit the Parliament building of Germany. And the kids were like, oh, wow, that's cool. And also, when you go to Berlin, you also have to stop by Checkpoint Charlie, and that's also one of our stops that we did while we were in Berlin. Overall, it was about 2.5 weeks. We left on June the 30th. We arrived back July 17th? Or is it 18th? So around there, 17 days. But the kids, the time went by pretty fast. And I would say for most of them, they really felt that was a memorable experience for a lifetime. And we just wanted to say thank you for letting us participate in the program. The kids, again, they just... Great job.
It's when someone asks you, is like, how was Germany? It's like, as you can tell, you can need a whole PowerPoint of 50 pictures, but it's just a memorable experience to go to a country that greets you with open arms, to see their culture and who wants to hear about your culture more. They want to know, like, how do you do this? What do you eat? And, one thing, you always miss things back home, and I know I miss spicy food. They don't eat anything spicy. And I asked for if I can have, some spices, and they gave me pepper, black pepper. And I was like, that's not spicy, but but other than that, it was a great experience just to be able to get immersed in the culture, seeing the school, the way of life. And one of the big projects that we focused on was the environment. So seeing how they recycle, how every, how we have 4-way stops? Well, over there, it's mandated by the government that you have to have a plant or a circle of plants in the middle. So people have to drive around it. So it's just a beautiful thing, and I know me and Elijah, we were always together. We would ride our bike to school, take the bus to the town, and then walk to school. And you see little kids doing by themselves at 7 years old, and you're like, wow, they're so independent. So I think overall, it was just a great experience. I know this is something I'll take for the rest of my life, and I hope to study abroad in college because of this. So thank you.
Also, this could not have been done if it wasn't for Ms. Hernandez, who was my co-coordinator, who helped me out through all this. Come on.
Awesome. Learn German? You guys learning German? Yeah, bitte. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Nee,
Thanks for everything.
Awesome. Mario. Awesome. All your hard work, Ms. Hernandez. Thank you.
Take a picture here.
Photo op again. Put a little saliva on it in the beginning. My mom used to do it for us. Segregation.
This is my own no.
Good job, guys.
Good
job. Good job. Let's go read. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is one you have. I'm sure they were.
I was reading that.
Next, we have this district highlights, and it's always great to see our students traveling and learning and also teaching right abroad. So it's something that doesn't happen every day. Very proud of them. So district highlights. We're gonna start by showing you a video of we had different summer camps over after the school year was over in the month of June, and we want to share with you about one particular camp that I think was awesome, and it was really good. As you all know, companies, big corporations struggle to have female engineers, so we're trying to promote engineering, math, science into our, starting at the I guess, starting at the elementary level, going all the way to the colleges, because companies are struggling always to find female engineers. So we are actually did a camp that is somehow has to do with that, but also has to do with the talent that we have here. So it's called Girls Coding Camp.
I think what I'm learning will help me in the future because I'm going to study to be an engineer. So I think robotics is going to help me a lot.
The most fun thing we've done was fly drones. We learned how to control them using the joystick. We could turn them around, we could rotate it towards our direction, learn how to adjust the controls. Then we'd have to go through obstacles, and then we'd have little races to help us get the hang of it. It's really interesting how you go from one thing to the other, and then the challenges keep on coming. So the more challenges you come, it's more fun. So that's what helps it a lot. It's really entertaining because of all the challenges. So once you're done with one, you go to the other, and you go to the other. I'm learning how to be a better student, how to have fun with whatever I'm doing, and then I'm learning that failure leads to success, and it's very helpful for the future.
I think this camp has helped me with math and science a lot. Math especially because when we did the Raspberry Pi, we got to code on the computer, and we had to write down all these numbers, and we got to learn about the codes and the binary code. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Then we're going to let go and it should be blinking white. We're going to put it on our black dot and it should drive forward and blink green. Perfect.
We learned how to program Snapchat filter. We would create our own character with all the things, but you would have to have variables, you would have to have the character starting, and then it would have mouth, eyes, nose, hair, the person you want it to be, and then it would be good after you program everything with the variables. Then we did another one that was called Emojify. That one, it was the same thing, but instead you would have a little face, and it would you would have to design it to make this little emoji face with all the variables too.
So that's the kind of things we do, and it's not just happening in summer camp. We're doing that. We doing robotics competition. We I don't know if you remember last year we had several schools who started robotic teams and competitions. We're trying to expand that and have include more our female students, because we know that's also has been a struggle to have them involved in the science and math and engineering. So we have a lot of talented students, and with the help of our teachers and sponsors and our CNI department, I think we can do even more things for our students and provide even more opportunities. So we're very excited about that. Next, I have the August LSG monitoring report. But before I transition, I want to just for our teachers and staff here, I want to thank our board for one last time. I know we're bringing forward to them a raise for today for their approval, and I'm very excited about the raises. So I want to thank them for their support. Great things are happening. We are going to be, hopefully with their approval, providing a minimum of $4,000 to our teachers, $4,500 to anybody with 5 years experience or more. But also we are doing equity adjustments. Some of our teachers will see even more than $5,000 in their increase in their salary, annual salary. Our auxiliary will see 7% increase, obviously, and some of our bus drivers will see close to $2,000 increase in their annual salary. which is great. The starting salary, hourly salary for our bus drivers will go up to $14. And I think also wasn't here. We had a pay scale for our bus driver that stopped at 10. So they capped. After you get 10 years, you don't get any more increases. So we eliminating that. So anybody with more than 10 years will be getting more raises and will have put on a different scale. So that in itself, it's a great accomplishment. I want to again thank our board members for really their support. I know we're very excited about the workshop we had last Thursday, and I know they will move on and approve the plan. Going back to our teachers, for example, our teachers starting salary would be at $50,000 a year, up from $46,250. That's higher than what McAllen pays for their starting salary. That's higher than what San Benito pays for their salary. I know we're about short about $1,000 or $1,250 from like Westlaco, but I know with the work, if we continue to work and the support of our board members, we can even exceed that and be really at the top of the list. So that's really the plan. So again, I want to just take a minute just to thank you for your support and making this kind of race possible. All right, next we have LSG. So we got last week, our official data. TA did not release if we're going to be in A, B, C, or D district yet. That information will be public this week. But they give us the official numbers, like you get this many kids meets, this many masters per campus as a district. So today I'll be talking about that, which is goal number 2, and also superintendent constraint number 2. So this is where we looked at the percentage of students who achieve meets and or master performance level on the STAR exam identified in the Texas State Accountability Report will increase from 37 to 60% by 2023. And as far as goal progress measures, the first one looks at the students 3 through 5, and we want that increased from 26 to 60 by 2023. And also for goal progress measure number 2, we're looking at middle school students and how they are doing in math. There is math, reading, and science, and social study tests at the mid-school level. We want that percentage of students who are scoring meets or masters to go from 29 to 60. And the last one is strictly EOCs or high school exams. And that number we wanted to go from a 41 to 60% by 2023. So just to cap, the goal was 60 by 2023. Our goal for the end of this year was 42. Unfortunately, as overall goal, we fell short. We were at 37%, so our percentage of students who score meets or masters was at 37%. So 37% of our students score meets or masters. And so we did not meet our goal of 42%. When we break it down by goal progress measures, when you look at the students who are 3 through 5 who achieve meets or masters, our goal was 33% for this year. Our students perform at 37%. So 37%. So for elementary students, our students actually exceeded the 33 goal. And it was up from 26 the year before. So we did show a tremendous increase from last year to this year in elementary. Our middle school students in 6 through 8 also showed an increase. And not only increased, but also they exceeded our goal of 36%. So the goal was 36%. 37% of our students in middle school scored meets or masters, up from 29 the year before. So we're showing a lot of gains in elementary and middle school when it comes to meets and masters. What we have more work to do is in high school. In fact, we've seen a decline, and not only we didn't meet the 45%, but we saw a decline in the percentage of students who are meeting or mastering the goal. Now, in high school, what happens is our students, if they don't, let's say, pass English 1 or don't pass English 2, they have to keep taking it. Even when they move, as they move to 10th grade, 11th grade, because that's a requirement, right? In order for them to graduate, they have to pass their AOCs. So what ended up happening is we have more If if you don't graduate, if you don't pass it, we'll have more students in the denominator taking tests over and over and over. And if they're not passing, the denominator is higher, is bigger, and then the denominator is not as high. Like the number of students who are passing is not high. So that's creating pretty much declining our overall percentage of meets and masters. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sorry.
I try to repeat it back to you and see if I.
Sorry if it's
So you're
confusing.
saying that more students have retaken the end of course exams
We have, yes, we have.
than previous years?
Well, yes, because, I mean, if the students is not passing, if the student did not pass, let's say English 1 as a freshman, even when they move to 10th grade, they'll have retake the English 1. And if they don't pass, they will take it again as a 10th grader, but if they don't pass it, they will have to take English 1 again as an 11th grade. So we have students who are freshmen taking English 1, and then you have some who are 10th graders taking it, and then you have some who are 11th graders who are taking the test. So the denominator is exploding. What we need to do as a district is to do a better job ensuring that the kids take it the first time and pass and score meets or master. That way we don't have to go repeaters, those test repeaters, the kids who are taking it over and over again. We don't want that to happen. Does that make sense? I don't know if that helps.
But how is that different than previous years though? Wasn't that still the case previous years?
Well, we
When
had
were
last
at-
year, I think last year we had a little bit more, right, Mr. Rana? Percentage of students who failed a little higher, right, than previous year, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it's depend upon the test too, like.
From year to year.
Year to year. And then adjusting in the standard, sometimes one question or two question can make a big difference. And keep in mind, we are not talking about the approaches, we are talking meets and master.
Yeah.
So this standard
Is higher.
So when the students are not passing, your denominator is getting bigger and bigger. Numerator, remember, retester, they are not high achiever. So the meet is a high achiever standard. So we have the denominator increasing, but the numerator is not changing because the meets, we are trying to make them just to get to approaches.
So they can graduate.
Yeah, to graduate. So it's like a tough
see.
to go to the needs level. Approaches, they are getting to the approaches. But we are not talking about the approaches here. We are talking about the meets and masters. So we don't see the growth here, but growth is happening in approaches. So they are getting graduate, but not meets and masters. So that's the denominator, and the numerator is not helping.
Yeah. So that's what, when we do the evaluation, obviously, as a whole, we're not, but when you look at it by goal progress measures, you know, the elementary we're meeting or exceeding, and middle we are, and the high school, that's where we have to spend more effort and you know, come up with different things. And I can share with you a couple of things that we're doing, we started doing for next year, but it's approaching. Some of the next step is targeted data meetings and goal settings. One of the things we train our principals, I know, and one of those non-negotiables is to ensure that the PLC, the professional learning communities meetings are happening, and that data-driven instruction, right, those kind of conversation is happening in every school, in every group of teachers, let's say English 1, English 2. So those things are happening, so we can ensure consistency or ensure that our students are actually, our teachers are actually learning more about the students. That's what we call individualized goals by students. We also, another thing we are doing is mastery trackers by students, and I can show you a sample or two. We're also doing some curriculum updates and campus PLC framework for planning. That's the PLC that we did the train last week, our principals on. So some recognition here, campus that have achieved their goals, and you can see elementary, pretty much we have a lot of them who did a phenomenal job meeting their goals or exceeding their goals. As far as middle school, we have Solis and Todd exceeding the goals. And then as the high schools, no high school campuses obtained their goals. However, Donna High School did achieve 43%, which was higher than the overall district goal of 42. So they had a higher goal. They did not get to 45, but they get to 42, which was the district goal, or higher than the district goal. As far as the constraint, number 2, should not approve changes in academic programs arbitrarily or within any annual evaluation. And we did not change anything. We did not change anything. So on that one, we are meeting. I just want to, before we take any question, if you don't mind, I'm just going to show you some of the, so this is like the things that we're doing. And this is new, that also we train our principals, when we share this with our principals last week. So
Yes.
if you can see, there's a tracker. We create a tracker for goal 1, goal 2, and goal 3, I'm sorry, where our principals, along with the teachers, they will track their student and see how they're progressing.
Quick question. That's okay. Hold on, I just got to get back on. I just want to make sure I put the money in your account, not your brother's, right?
Could you mute her?
Hold on. I'm trying to listen.
Actually, my man, we're hearing you. Hold on.
Oh.
There you go.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Grab that.
Cool.
So this didn't exist before. This is a new thing, starting for this coming school year. So this is to track how our students. How our students are doing. But really, this has to be done at the campus level. Not me, not Mr. Rana, but the principal, the CS, the AP, the dean, sitting with our teachers, looking at the students and seeing how they're doing. But this is the kind of stuff. So how they're doing from one quarter to another, right? So this is like reading level for goal number 1. Let me show you, for example, for meets and masters, since that's the object, the goal number 2. That's the one I was talking about. So this is another one that for that particular goal, and I'll show you the tracker. There's instruction on how to track this. And so this is when it's like differentiating, right? Like knowing about every student, every individual student, and seeing how they're doing, and also adjusting to their needs. So this is something, and it will be more like a Google sheet, so our teachers as well as our principals and AP CSs, we can collaborate. So they don't necessarily to have a meeting to talk about, to look at this. It's everybody can update and look at it from their home, from behind their desk. They can look at that and work on it. So these are the new things that we are implementing for this coming school year. But again, this is to track and also look that, monitor and make sure that our students are getting what they need. And again, there's another one also for CCMR. Again, it's just a sample.
And that we weren't using last year, right? This is new.
CCMR, I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. CCMR, we started using it October, November?
Yeah, last year.
Last year,
this is what you were talking about.
This
with
is the only
individual
one we
student
have for
tracking.
CCMR.
Oh.
But then now we did create one for goal 1 and another one for goal 2.
Oh, okay. I do remember hearing about the individual.
Yep. And this one is more, because it has to do with certification. This will be probably completed with our counselors, our APs, deans, principals, because this is looking at their did they take the TSI? Did they pass the reading TSI and math TSI? They look at their certification. Did they already get they earn an industry certification, right? That kind of stuff. Did they earn an associate degree? This usually is supposed to be tracked by our counselors, APs, deans, and principals. The other 2 is more for our teachers to work collaboratively with their APs, principal, CSs, deans, right? So they can track our students and monitor and make sure that we are adjusting the instruction and provide an intervention based on that.
Dr. Z, do these merge at one time during the process?
Is what I'm sorry?
Do they merge? In other words, if you're having one data looking at another data, because it is tailing to the same processes, right? So if they were to be merged at one point, could that be possible? Meaning you get a different number? The data,
what do you mean?
But because the data that you're telling right now on students is based on whether they're passing their master's meet or master their exams, correct?
That's this one.
Correct.
Are you saying merge the CCMR indicators with the meets and masters?
Yes.
Oh, like one student essentially is in there for both goals?
Right.
Is what you're saying?
It's, I understand where you're coming from, but they are two different, there are two different goals, and also the folks who will be working on them are two different group of folks.
Got it.
So because, yeah, it's not the same, like, if I'm in charge of all of it, yeah, of course, it makes sense to have them all merged, but no. Like, and then goal one, remember, goal one and two is strictly elementary and middle. Goal three is strictly high school. So it's not necessarily the same even group of folks.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
But I could see a world where what you're saying, Mr. Bett, is like as a CTE teacher, or say I'm, a counselor, and this is these are my students. Like I probably should have a sense of both their data on their. That's what
Right.
you're.
Sure.
But it doesn't physically merge.
We can definitely have this shared with anybody. You can, I mean, if I'm an AP or let's say at Donna High, I can have this shared with my CTE teachers. I can have this shared with my any of my the teachers who have these students. However, as I said, there is some information that a teacher might not know about. Let's say, how's the student doing because DSI scores and stuff like that. Do we need to make those information available for our teachers? I agree. I think they should be in the known how their students are doing overall. I think that's a good practice.
Well, I mean, it is. I think it sees the whole picture for a teacher, especially when those unknowns are out
Correct.
there for them.
Correct.
Knowing that we have them already captured somewhere.
Correct.
The other question I had, going back to the high school, and one of the items that was pointed out earlier was maybe we need to revise the goal for the first-time takers, and not necessarily because if it's hurting our processes, then maybe it's only for first-time takers. We still continue the process that you're talking about. But going back to the first-time takers, test takers versus.
It's a great idea because that will, I guess, somehow motivate everybody, encourage everybody to get it done the first time, right? So we don't have to worry about second and third time. And that's really ideally what we want to see. Our students passing or achieving their requirements, meeting their requirements with the first time.
Or actually, another one could be to, this what the board would have to discuss it or replace it with a progress measure. Rather than pass or fail, did the child make progress from one year to
Right.
another? I think that's a more accurate measure
Yeah.
of the cognitive ability of a student.
Right. And that's another option
This
too.
is really cool, though.
That's another option too.
Dr. Tracy, I have a question. I know that this data, the principals are using it to monitor the instruction in the campuses, to assist teachers, to provide them support, to support their practices, to improve instruction and ultimately student outcomes. However, connect the dots from central office to the
Correct.
principals. How are who's going to make sure that the principals are using this data for all that?
Correct. So we are scheduling meetings. We don't really call them meeting. We call them purposeful visits. So we'll be having those purposeful visits where we sit down. This stuff could be shared with anybody, by the way. As I said, they can share it with me, with Mr. Ron. I can see it from here if it's been done or not. However, the purposeful visit is not just to see if it's happening or not, is more to have a conversation. It's, okay, so you see in here Mr. Rana in here, and he see that he's not progressing. So what have you done differently? What do you need, what kind of support do you need from us, for example, to help? And it's true for a student, it's true for a teacher too, because let's say we have teachers who are new every year, or teachers who maybe still like learning or struggling. So also looking at the overall picture, how are the students doing with this particular teacher? And now, what's happening in there? What kind of support was provided? What kind of coaching? What can maybe a strategist or a coach can provide to help you help the teacher that's help the students?
You know, one of the things
Just a second,
as
though.
a former teacher, I know that you have kids who they're failing.
Right.
Okay, and that you know that they're failing. Okay, but they're failing an objective 3, and you're teaching objective 1, and they've already mastered that. But yet the teacher or that student keeps getting that reinforced, but he's not getting that objective 3, which is where he needs the help. Do we have the data?
Yeah.
And are we concentrating and then are we getting reports for that?
Go ahead, Mr. Ron.
If I may, I will answer your question, sir. Dr. Valdez, what we are doing here, we are trying to increase our communication. So like we call horizontal communication, vertical communication. So both way, teacher to principal, principal to us to principal to the teacher. We are trying to do the vertical and horizontal communication increase through these trackers.
Right, I guess my question
So let me-
before
let me-
was
let me
we,
explain.
who is we referring to? Because he said we.
Yeah.
Define
So,
we.
Let me, so what we are trying to do, we mean our team, we create the way Dr. Isa is present to you, the quarterly report, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, the same concept is going back to the campuses. So the campus principal will do the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3 reports based on their outcome. So
Right.
the first goal is reading level. So we have already the calendar. They are tracking monthly, and each campus is going to present us the quarterly report on their progress to Dr. Isa, myself, and Dr. Sevas.
Okay,
And then,
so you three.
Yes.
That's what I
And
wanted.
then from there, we are seeing how this system is working, not working, and then we are seeing what the intervention is being provided and what intervention in each class. So it's very deep thought.
Right.
So instead of asking them to give us the data, we have data readily available whenever we need to pull the data to call any principal. But they will have a quarterly report. So goal 1 report, there will be January, February, they are going to present our master, meet and master, and the next again, the reading. So we are constantly monitoring their progress. If we don't monitor, we cannot expect the result. We need to monitor quarterly, monthly, and at the campus level, weekly.
Okay, so basically, Dr. Azaiz, Dr. Aceves, and you are gonna be meeting with the principals quarterly to review these reports. Did I understand that
They are
correctly?
going to present this-
They're gonna
Dr.
present to
Azaiz
you all, the
presenting.
way you all present. Got it, that's what I wanted to.
And when we're calling them as data coaching rounds, and this is something new that teachers have never, they're usually on the other end, they're on the
Right.
receiving end of the data this way. They're getting to see this data, and then they're gonna be on the presenting end. So it's gonna be themselves and potentially their academic team, their deans of instruction or a department head to come in and disaggregate it all the way down, basically having an administrative PLC at the district level, and they're implementing it at the campus level. So we're calling them data coaching rounds, in addition to the purposeful walks.
And back to Mr. Guerrero's question, when we look at the data, 6-week data or the weekly data, we look at by strain, by teeth, by objectives. Then we talk to the teacher like, look, this teeth is not master, and the master will be should 70% above. So data is provided them by teeth.
And to be fair, remember AE locals, these goals were adopted October, November, right? So they already started. Like we are in the middle of the game when we say, here's the rules of the game, right? So for our principals, and although we were talking about it, but it was October, November when it was finally approved. I said, here we go. Here's the rules of the game. It's in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
So we didn't get enough. We didn't have enough time. But also our teachers, our principals, to turn around and teach and coach. Our teacher work with them, can explain to them what is this goal 1, what is this goal 2, what is this goal 3. So now we're starting early. That's why we develop all this. Last week we trained our principals and administrators on this, and we said these are the expectations. These are what our board charged us with, and Mr. Rana certainly cannot do by himself. I cannot do by myself. It has to be a team effort, and it starts down with our teachers working our students, our principals and our CS, APs, working collaboratively with our teachers, supporting them, coaching them, providing them everything you need, and us also helping them out grow. And that's pretty much what it is. This is a tracker, is to monitor and also, I guess as for when it comes to needs and support, based on this, we do those kind of things.
So this year our teachers will have the full year in which to implement
Yes.
this. And for last year, they came in behind the 8 ball. They were
Correct.
running late.
Correct.
And now
Correct.
they know what we're looking for.
To be fair, we adopted this we have approved this, I think October, November, if I'm not mistaken.
Dr. AC, then it becomes critical, because I'm making mental notes of what
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
saying, then it becomes critical. You know how we need to add that literacy math goal?
Yes.
And how we need to add that fourth constraint?
Correct.
And it becomes critical that we do that on August the 27th.
Correct.
Because I don't want our campuses to be off to a late start again.
Yes.
So I think we need to
I mean,
bring
we
that to
won't
the
be,
board at the end of August.
all 1,000+ school districts in the state of Texas are gonna be doing that. So we have a window of time to do that. We should make sure we take the time we need to do it well. I don't think we should consider that teachers were behind last year, given that it was the first time that we as a board was ever setting student outcome goals. So I don't consider anyone behind. We're actually ahead of many school districts across the state of Texas who are not even talking about student outcome goals. So even last year, even though it was October, like we are still
Yes.
making the progress that we need to move in the right direction.
And to echo what Ms. Rena was saying, we were invited to present, was it
July 29th?
27th.
27th? We're invited to go to San Antonio and present our board, to present to other school districts about what we've been doing. And I think what Dr. Valdez and Ms. Rena is talking about, House Bill 3 talks about how the district need to have a literacy plan for early childhood. They have to have also math, like when it comes to math, like mathematics literacy plan for early one. And also they have to come up with something for CCMR, right? And so when we presented to these folks, we said, wow, you guys are ahead of the game because House Bill 3 just came out, in May, this spring?
June.
And we already have this, already we had 2 out of the 3 goals already in motion already. So that's I guess, what Dr. Valdez and Ms. Reyna was referring to. So we are ahead of the game when it comes to those 2, and we want to make sure to catch up with the 3rd goal. But really, we're really ahead of the game when it comes to other school districts. That's a fact because we got a lot of positive feedback about what we've been doing here, what we're doing here.
Well, and that's what was so cool, you all, like as a board and what the superintendent did presenting at that summit, the Lone Star Governance Summit, he essentially was showing other boards like Midland, Tornillo, all across the state of Texas, how we go through this process right here. And that's what we were asked to present on because we're actually doing that really well, and other school districts were able to learn from us, and then we were able to learn from other school districts. But not everybody's asked to even present. And so this is kind of one of the best practices that our board is implementing, which is really, really great that we were able to share up there.
Yeah.
Let me just echo something that Dr. Maman just sent to me. There's only 39 districts out of the 1,200 are tracking and reporting quarterly progress for their districts to TEA. So we're one of those, obviously. And ahead of most of these 39 that have already started the processes. So you guys have an understanding of where we're at as far as the board is concerned.
That's true. It's a very important thing. So, any questions and comments about what we're doing?
Is there a motion for the board
I move.
to?
A second.
Motion by Dr. Mary, second by Mr. De Los Rios.
Favor?
Favor.
Favor.
In favor, motion passes.
Great, thank you. Before I transition to item number 5, and I apologize I know we have some of our business folks office here, and I don't know if you know, but TA rates schools on academic growth and how they're doing, but also they rate them when it comes to financial what is that called again, Ms. Kent? Accountability. It's a financial accountability, how they do their business and finance, right? And so I don't know if you remember, but last year, unfortunately, as a district, we received a big F. Remember that? I know, I'm sorry. That's truth is the truth, right?
That is. You gotta speak the truth.
And so we did that, get an F, and then, everybody in the business office said, you know what, we don't accept an F. We are better than that. And of course we are. And so they worked so hard. And this past Friday, TEA released this new accountability system for the finance, and we did receive 100 of 100 points, a perfect score. It's an A, superior rating. So I want to thank all our business officers. Yes, we're very excited to go from an F to like a perfect score. That's an amazing. But I also thank our board for their support and making sure that we have the right systems and stuff like that in place. So very excited about that. And we'll talk about it. I think we have supposed to present on that. I think in maybe next meeting in September, right? Usually, maybe October. Okay. But anyway, I thought that I would share because that's really, really great news, and I want to thank them for all their help.
Especially to the conservator, thank you so much.
Right. And you know, when you see that, unfortunately, like, you know, there are a lot of school districts that are struggling, even here, even neighbor like Hidalgo got an F, you know, it's public record. Mercedes got a C, you know, a lot of school districts who are struggling financially to get things done, and we are getting a perfect score. That's really exciting.
A lot of work.
Exactly, and it was all, the last time we got an F was just because we didn't meet
The deadline, it was a deadline, yeah.
The last time, that's part of it. Yes, I think that's part of it. Yep, it's a big part.
That was it, the deadline that we didn't meet.
Anyway, so next item is discussion on possible action. Thank you.
Number 5,
Congratulations. That's what you're saying.
discussion and possible action to approve endorsement for the TASB Board of Directors for Region 1, Position B. Is there a motion?
Is there a motion on the table? I make a motion to nominate Ms. Yolanda Cuellar. She's right now the current TASB board member, so I nominate her to stay on board.
I second that.
Motion made by Mr. Pettis, second by Ms. Reyna.
Favor.
Favor. I also vote in favor. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have open forum. No one signed up for that one, so we will go ahead and continue to go into the consent agenda.
Yes,
Superintendent?
Mrs. Watts, I recommend that we table item A8 and D4. A as in apple, 8, and then D as in dog, 4. D4?
D?
I'm sorry, what you said?
Yes, D4.
B? Hold on, let me make sure. I get it right.
And then 4 on D4, human resources.
D4.
The tax collection?
No, it's,
I'm sorry, BF.
so under I'm sorry for the confusion. So it's under Business and Finance, item number 8.
Yes.
And then
Human
under Human Resources, and item number 4.
Is there a motion to table?
I make a motion to approve.
To table?
Table.
Table. So
Those
who
two,
motion? David, who second?
I second that.
Ms. Reyna?
I make a motion.
Ms. Reyna second?
Yeah.
Favor.
Yeah, for the, to table those two items, yeah.
To table the items, that's what we're on.
Favor.
Favor.
In favor, also one in favor, motion passes. Okay. Now we have the consent agenda. Okay, on the next one, we have the governance, I'm sorry, the governance we have on one.
Oh, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I second.
Okay.
Favor.
Motion made by Ms. Alicia Reyna, second by Mr. David David De Los Rios. And who will, David, stop talking so much. He keeps going. Go ahead.
Favor.
In favor. Motion, I also vote in
Favor.
favor. Okay, motion passes. All right, next we go to the governance part, and it has to be with, I think on the first one, we have the AE local policy, it's a discussion. Dr. Valdez will be the one to speak on behalf of the AE local policy discussion. She did meet with Dr. McMahon on this.
Yes, basically on that one is just discussion. Again, we wanted to change the vision that was originally in AE local. We wanted to change it to the one that was adopted by our strategic 5-year plan. And then the second item, I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I think the second item that I wanted to include was to do a 4th constraint for the superintendent, where the superintendent wouldn't allow any campus to maintain a D or F rating for more than 2 consecutive years.
I think on that issue, Dr. Odis, there was some wording that we cannot make any changes for a 24-month period.
Well, I don't think it's that we can't. It's
We
not-
haven't.
No.
We haven't made any changes.
I don't, it's not that we can't, we could if we wanted to. It's just, I think you're referring to our board constraint. The board will not modify EE local not more than once in a 24-month period. I think that's what you were thinking of. I mean, I think this is great fodder for discussion, these things. I don't think we're ready to adopt any changes to our AE local, but I think it would be great for us to set up a workshop to discuss these things in addition to some of the other things that have been brought up today, like Dr. Valdez was talking about the House Bill 3 math, the goals around that. Then we would need, the policy. So we need to schedule the policy conversation that we sent our policy, that work that we sent to Dr. McMahon. That might lead us to actually revising some of our board constraints or our superintendent constraints. So that work might lead us to changing those two. So I think that, and then there was a couple of other things. All to say that I think there's a more robust conversation we need to have around this.
And I disagree specifically because I think we're going to get the A through F report probably in the next couple of days. And that report is going to demonstrate that there's 13 campuses that dropped. Previously, also in the previous year, we only had 3 campuses that were derating. We're expected to have now, I believe, 5 and 1 F-rated campus. And if you recall, the revised Lone Star Governance Manual does say that we are supposed to challenge the organization. And you're supposed to use data to determine your goals. We were going to have the goal to support why we need to make this as a superintendent constraint. So I disagree.
So the proposal is, in other words, for the schools, if they're failing, they cannot fail no more 2 years consecutively, and then they have to be looked at as far as removal, change.
Well, the superintendent, we would come up with the constraints, and then he would come up with the processes of what it is he would want to take place to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Well, right now, we wouldn't be able to approve it. We need we need constraint progress measures to be able to adopt it with this. And if we adopted something like this would hold a superintendent accountable to data from previous years or from previous superintendents.
No, if you read what Dr. McMahon said, she said that we could word it in a method where we would not hold him responsible for the past, but only for what's on forward. Correct. That's what Dr. McMahon indicated there.
I spoke with with Dr. McMahon, and she said she's willing to come and maybe have a workshop where we can discuss, a team of 8, we discuss all this. So I don't know if she's on?
She's online.
Okay. Dr. McMahon, are you there? I don't know if she's there. But she did mention that she can come maybe soon and maybe have.
Oh, you're on mute, Dr. McMahon.
And we can maybe discuss it and come up with a plan.
Where would that workshop be taking?
That's what we need to.
I know towards the end of the month, we talked about AE local being discussed on the 27th of August. She's coming back online. She had to exit out. And since the 27th of August is our AE local, we're going to be addressed by Dr. McMahon, and I think also AJ Rabel was going to join us as well to discuss that. I mean, either or for me is the same venue. We can still discuss it at that point. I don't see any degradation of not approving it today, even though we're going to have an AE local in the future.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
There you are.
All right, sorry.
I apologize. I just want everybody to understand the revisions that you guys want to make are truly at the pleasure of the board, but there are a lot of things that need to go into place behind that. For example, if you're going to add a constraint, the superintendent has to develop a constraint progress measure. If we're going to add another goal, which we know that we have to add based upon House Bill 3, we have to create that goal, and the superintendent has to create the goal progress measure. So there are multiple things. My recommendation or suggestion to the board is, instead of piecemealing all of these things, this one this time, this one this time, this one this time, we have that conversation and we put it all together and do all of the revisions as a whole. So your revisions are totally up to you. And in the terms of Lone Star governance, there are some things that we suggested with your board self-constraint about changing the goals and updating AE local unless it's required by legislative action. But that doesn't mean that you can update your AE local 5, 6 different times. It just means that you can get everything together and you update it as one. So the recommendations that you want to make and the things that you want to do are totally up to the pleasure of the board. But I would prefer to see, if it's the pleasure of the board, that one AE local revision take place instead of multiple AE local revisions take place.
I was sharing with our board members about you possibly if you conducting a workshop so we can address a lot of these changes, I guess, collectively as a team of 8.
Yeah, in terms of the policy, Alicia, I know that you mentioned that. That is something that I'm still trying to get scheduled. But if it's the pleasure of the board to get these things done very quickly, I will be more than happy to send the dates and we'll schedule something as soon as possible to get everybody on board. We kind of already have an idea of what you guys are looking at and what you want. So it's just taking care of the steps behind it, put it all together.
Dr. McMahon, is it possible to make that happen like this month of August? Because I'd really like to, I'd like to, for the board to have all that and be able to make a decision this month of August. And that's only so that we are able to start the year freshly. And the other item also that calls into play for the delay of this is that we're already working on our advocacy videos, Spanish and English. So I've got to put it on hold now until we determine what we're going to do with the goal or the constraint. I don't want to send out something to the community or advocate that's not complete. So that kind of has me at a standstill as well. And that's also another reason for the urgency to try to get this resolved so that we are able to finish the advocacy video.
Yes, I totally understand and I agree. I think getting those videos and things out to the community are critical. I will be more than happy to be on a phone conference tomorrow and look at available dates. It just availability of when the board is available, what you guys are willing to do, and I do know the last week of August is pretty booked out, but this next week and a half, I'm pretty open.
The next week.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we should add to that conversation too, revising if we need to want to switch our meets and masters performance goal to like progress. That's another part of that discussion as well.
What we just talked about, the one I proposed earlier.
I think what I had added for the goal, Elise, Ms. Reina, was that that we would not be changing AE local in more than once in 24 months unless there was a change in the state, unless Texas Education Agency made an adjustment.
So they did.
Then we would. Like, for example, this math thing that they want us to do.
Right. So we shouldn't change anything now until we can have all these different discussions that all impact AE local at one time and have everything we need to do it holistically.
Yeah, I think we can do it this month when Dr. McMahon comes back and gives us
next week.
more.
Yeah, I mean,
I make a motion that we can table this for next week. Let's do that. I know like my manager just mentioned she's available. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the.
It's just discussion. It's only a discussion.
Discussion only. It's a discussion.
Discuss doing it on the 27th, you can put on the agenda.
Yeah, okay. Because right now it's just for discussion.
Got it.
Okay, no action.
Yep. You're thinking August 27th?
Anything else on that? item?
No, she can't. She said. She
Mr.
can
Pettis,
do it
Ms.
next week.
Reyna, anything else on this?
That's why I make the
No,
motion.
so next step here, Dr. McMahon, we'll get with you, maybe we'll figure out a date for figuring that out.
We'll definitely figure out a date, and in the meantime, the superintendent and his staff and I will have conversations related to potential constraint progress measures and the new goal for math and goal progress measures aligned to that, so we can have that available and bring that to a board workshop.
And are we going to try and do you think we can do the policy discussion at the same time?
That is not just my schedule, that is also AJ's schedule, and I'm trying to get in touch with him about that.
Got it.
But I do want to say the conversation about the board self-constraint with the AE local, adding that just, I guess, disclaimer or connection to what happens in the legislative was presented to TEA, and they approved that.
Okay. Any other discussion on the item? Next, we go to executive session. The time is
What about
seven-
the-
I'm sorry. Oh, the discussion, okay.
What about the consent?
It was only for discussion. On this one, the discussion possible action to approve delegate for transfer.
Ms. Watson, board members, we were asked to nominate a delegate for the TASB upcoming convention, Dallas Convention.
And I believe on that one, we only have Mr. Pettis that will be attending for the in Dallas.
Yes, that's my understanding too, right, Mr. Perez, you're attending? Okay.
Mhm. For that.
So we need to nominate.
We need to nominate Ms., whoever's going to.
How many volunteers have we got going?
Colonel's need. I volunteer Colonel.
You volunteer.
Make a motion.
I make the motion. Colonel.
Motion to volunteer.
I second.
Second by Mr. David De Los Rios.
Favor. In favor.
And I accept the nomination.
Motion passes. The time is 7:22, and we're going to go into executive session. It's authorized by the Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, .072, .073, .074, .075, .076, .0802, .083, .084. And we'll go into executive session. Thank you. One would be approval of recommendation for professionals, paraprofessionals, and auxiliary personnel, no action. Approval of recommendation for proposed non-renewal of term contract, no action. Approval of recommendations for proposed termination of probationary contract, no action. The next one would be, the motion for the approval of recommendation for Chapter 21 term and probationary contract renewals.
Make the motion to approve.
I second.
Motion by Mr. De Los Rios, second by Dr. Valdez.
In favor.
In favor.
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 Motion passes. B, discussion and possible action on consultation with legal counsel regarding construction defeat litigation, no action. Discussion and possible action regarding the resolution of Carlo Cordova and versus Donna ISD.
I move we take no action.
Second.
There's a motion made by Ms. Alicia Reina, second by Mr. Guerrero.
We have two board members abstaining.
Yeah, I abstain.
I abstain due to a conflict of interest.
You and Ms. Watts.
Motion fails.
Approve.
I'm sorry?
Approve.
You approve, he said approve.
In favor of, okay, in favor.
In favor.
Okay.
In favor? No action?
No action.
Favor. Yeah.
All right, so no action.
No
So
action. No action. Motion fails. Okay, and B?
No action in B.
No action.
No action. Discussion and possible action to approve pending or completed litigation settlement matters and or matters where the professional duty under state board requires private consultation with a school attorney, no action. Next, we have a meeting to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by the Mr. De Los Rios.
Second.
Second by Dr. Valdez.
In favor?
Favor. Motion passes.
Oh, you're welcome. You're still there, Dr. McMahon?